Hey guys, welcome back to the fourth video in our QR series. In the previous videos, we took a look at how we could create an attendance system using QR codes and integrating that with the Google platform. Now, some of you noted that there are some issues with this system, in particular that students could just scan their QR codes from home, or perhaps they could scan for some of their friends. Well, now I bring to you a way that we can completely get around this issue, but there are a couple of caveats, so stay tuned for those. So now we're going to make a shift from the Google platform over to Microsoft. Now, before we get started, there are a few things that you need to know. First off, you need to be a Microsoft user, or in particular, a Microsoft 365 online user. Now, if your school or organization already has Microsoft as part of their package, then this won't be a problem for you. However, if not, then this may not work for you, but it's still worth trying it out. Secondly, the people that's going to be scanning in using the app that we're going to create in today's video, in particular your students, for example, they need to be part of the same organization as you. Now, if you're okay with that, then let's get straight into it. So the first thing we're going to do is open up a new instance of Google Chrome. In the URL, just type in PowerApps and press enter, and that will take us to the Google homepage with PowerApps searched up. Just click on the first one and we are going to sign in using the sign in button at the top right. Now, throughout this tutorial, I'll be using my school account, so there may be bits and pieces where I just need to blur out for privacy reasons. So let's go to the top left waffle button and the SharePoint button. We're going to hold Control and left mouse click that so it opens in a new tab. Once you open this, you'll note some groups in here. So we'll have the Teams group, which is probably what you see, and then I have my work group, the Math Lab group. If you can't see a new group, then just go up to Create Site and then click on Team Site. I'm going to open up my Math Lab account here, and once we're in, we're going to go to New List. Now this list will be a blank list. The name, let's give it something descriptive like student attendance, or if you're part of an organization that is creating some sort of event, then name it after your event. Give it a bit of a description if you want to and click create. This is what your new list looks like. The title here, we're going to click the drop down button, go to column settings and rename it. We're going to rename this location. Let's click on the Add Column button, a single line of text, and we're going to give it the name Who. Click on Save. Let's add in a new column. This time, let's go down to Date and Time. We'll call this When, and we're going to change one of these options just down here to include the time. We don't want the friendly format, just include time and then click on Save. And that is our SharePoint set up. Next thing we're going to do is open up a Google Sheet. In this spreadsheet, we're going to list out our list of locations. In the previous video, someone contacted me and asked if they could set up a list of QR codes that belong to a seat, and then each student would sign into that seat. So they knew where each student sat each day. This is a perfect example of when the system could be used. And in my case, I'm just going to put out a list of rooms. Let's say we have 10 rooms, and we're going to go through our formula. So we start with an equals, and then the word array formula. If A2 to A, that's this column here that's now highlighted, is equal to blank, then return nothing. Otherwise, we're going to return the image. Now the image is the QR code. The HTTPS, here's our URL. The chart type is QR. Then do an ampersand. The chart size is 150 by 150. Now this X here is the letter X. It is not an asterisk or a times symbol. It's just a regular X. And our chart list is equal to the list A2 to A. Now if we press enter on this, we'll see it doesn't actually work. This is something that I addressed in a previous video where we have a space inside our location. Now we can't have spaces in URLs. URLs don't work that way. A quick way to fix that is around this A2 and A, we're just going to use an encode URL function. press enter, and we see that our QR codes pop up. So we can expand this out. Now, once you've got this, you can set this up on a nice piece of paper that you can then post up on the wall. I'll put a quick clip somewhere of how we do it here in New Zealand. So once we have all this, we can then go back to our PowerApps. From here, we're going to create a Canvas app from blank. The app's name, let's call it Student Attendance. And because most of my students use a phone, I'm going to click on Phone. Click on Create. And here is our app. But at the moment, this app doesn't actually do anything. So we're going to give it some functionality. From the ribbon at the top, let's go to Insert. And if we go across to Media, we'll find the barcode scanner. And it is that simple. Now this button doesn't actually do anything just yet. We'll pop it right at the bottom, just like that. The next thing we're going to input is from the gallery. Let's go down to the vertical gallery. When the data source comes up, we're going to click on Connectors and then SharePoint. Now, if you don't see SharePoint, you can click on See All Connectors and then in the search bar, put in SharePoint. Now, this is the list that we created in that other tab just earlier in the video. First, let's just click which site we made it in. I made it in the Math Lab, so I'm going to click on that one. And there's our student attendance, the list that we just created. Click on that and click Connect. And we can see that this is now updated. The picture has changed, so we know it's working. We are just going to move this down a little bit, change the height. And now we can get on to programming our button. Now this button, we're going to use an on-scan formula. So we scroll down to on-scan. And in the function box, we are going to type in select barcode scanner 1, and it should just come up with, there it is, with the option for barcode scanner 1. Close with a bracket and finish with a semicolon. That semicolon means we're going to put more stuff in afterwards. Let's put in a patch. Now a patch is where we go from our app that we're now creating to the list that we created earlier in the other tab. We're going to patch the attendance, student attendance is what we called it. That's our list that we called it earlier. And now open a brace. The brace has a title, barcode scanner 1, dot value. Who, that was our second column in the list. It's the user that we are going to get. We're going to get their full name. And when are we going to get it? We're going to get it now. Close with a brace and a bracket and a semicolon because we've got more to put in. Next up, we're going to collect some data. Now this collection is going to feed into this, what's called a multi-scan that we just made. So we'll use collect multi-scan. The barcode info is barcode scanner 1 dot value. Who scanned will be the user, just like it was before. And when scanned is now, just like it was before. Close with a brace and a bracket. So just going through all that again, we have our select barcode scanner 1. Now this part at the top allows us to keep that barcode scanner open, and we can scan over and over and over and over, and it just doesn't stop until we click the back button on our phone. This patch part patches from our app that we're creating into the list that we created earlier. And this collect line goes from our app or from our scanning into this box here that we also created earlier. That is pretty much everything that we need to do. So now we just need to make it look good and we're good to go. I'm going to put this text input right up there. Let's give it a nice name like student attendance. I'm going to center that, make it a bit bigger, bold perhaps. Let's also change the color. So the background color to a nice dark color, and then the lettering to something white. There we have our student attendance sheet. And once we're done with that, we just need to save it and we are good to go. So let's save it. We're going to save to the cloud. And it's called student attendance. Click on the save button and that is ready to go. So next up, I'm going to get out my phone and we're going to start scanning and see how it all works. So now in your phone, download PowerApps from the Play Store. So once you have PowerApps installed, open it up and you'll see this home screen. Let's go to the All Apps and we can see there is our PowerApps that we just created. I'm going to open that up and that should look exactly the way that we created it. We do need to allow the camera. And there is our student attendance box. I'm just going to open up the spreadsheet that we came up with before. Click the scan button and we can now scan. Now you see a little glitch might happen now, but now after that I can just keep on scanning and I'm not pushing any buttons, it's just scanning over and over and over, and I can click room 2, here's room 3, or you can give your students their own QR code and they can hold on to that. They can go home and they can scan it, but it won't actually register because it's not being scanned by the correct device that has the app on it. So we can see here all of the scans that we just made. There's my name if you didn't know my name, and that has now been completed. We can see that I scanned in a whole bunch of rooms and that is ready to go. So you can now share this off to the people in your organization, like other staff members or attendees to your event or your students, and they can start scanning into the room as they enter it and it will be recorded on your phone. Now, once you get back to your computer, you can open up the SharePoint list that we created earlier and we can see all of the scans. If we want to see just what happened today, which is September 9th, we can click on the when and we can filter by date. If there were multiple dates on here, then we could see which dates were entered and when. So that is all that we need to do to create our app. It's super simple, super quick. And now you can send that off to people in your organization and they can start scanning as they enter the room or sit down at the desk that you already have the QR pasted on. So now it's your turn. My challenge to you is for you to create an app, maybe something similar to this. Maybe you could share some screenshots with us to see how you've designed it, or perhaps you can share an app that you've created from scratch. In the PowerApps that you just downloaded onto your phone, you now have a whole bunch of examples there that you can go from. If you do have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below in the comment section, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.